a lot of roads.
Yeah. It's because I was asking him, I was wondering, like, you pave a parking lot, for example. Like, they're not going to need another seal coat or for another 15, 10 years, right? I mean, so how do you keep that business up, Because it's not like you get repeat clients often.
The weather takes care of asphalt. I don't give a damn what you do with it. It takes care of it.
Yeah.
It'll get cracked. It'll get
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of leaking and a frost on it. It'll pick it up.
Mm.
It up in Alaska when I was up there, they drill holes and fill with the water and go home and go to bed. And when they come back, the rocks were all split.
Jeez. What were you doing in Alaska?
Just took a trip
That's quite the trip. Where would you go?
all over Alaska. Me and
You-
my wife.
You ever been to Nome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Heard cool.
Been to Living Good.
Yeah.
Up to Living Good as far as I got.
Mm-hmm.
There you have to get a pass to go on up to the Russian front there.
Okay. You never did?
Not that, no, because the road was so. I was on a motorcycle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jeez. Put change on your wheels or something? But
No.
no. You hunt at all when you were?
When I was young,
young?
young boy, I hunted. I used to take my gun to school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You just go out and hunt after school?
Huh?
You just go and hunt after school?
No, on the way home, I'd shoot a couple of ringnecks at a bunny and we'd have them for supper.
What kind of gun was it? A 22?
Shotgun.
Oh, shotgun. You said you killed bunnies?
Yeah, rabbits, ringnecks,
Okay.
quails.
Quails are delicious.
My mother would sort of got upset when I shoot quails. She said, "Warn you, don't get enough of them. There ain't much there to eat."
Yeah, when you breast them out, it's like this little baby, thing. You got to get like 20 of them to make a good meal out of it. But yeah, we're rolling, right?
Okay, get on. What do you want to do now?
I just want to. Oh, thank you so much.
Is
Gross.
she recording this nonsense now?
She is recording it. Yes. Is that okay?
No.
You let us know and we'll stop. But yeah, thank you for having us to your home. It's just amazing, and for everyone, they can see your home. It's he built it by his own hands. So from the foundation up, you built it, right? Everything.
My wife and I did before we got married.
Oh, you're okay. Okay. I remember you telling me she was like, "I need a home," and you were like, "All right, I got to build a house now." So that's funny. And she was from Ukraine, your wife?
No, it wasn't for her parents were.
Oh, her
Ukraine.
parents were from Ukraine.
She's born here.
Okay. Where was she born at? Within?
Down in Coppell, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Is that, I'm not familiar, is that south?
It's down in Beaver.
Okay, Beaver.
Toward
Okay.
Beaver County, down that way.
Yep, understood. Cool. So you cool starting with your childhood? Tell me a little bit about where you grew up and
Well, when I
what
was
you're doing.
born 1925, right in the heart of the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have trouble doing this.
Okay.
When I was born, I raised in a farm, poor old chicken farm, what we had. And I'll tell you, when I was a young kid, not even going to school, I knew how to work. Since I was 6 years old, I knew how to work on a farm. I knew how to help the chickens and do what I had to do there. And when I started at school in the first grade, I didn't start when I was 6. I started when I was 7 or later because of my birthday was in February. And I got to school, and I didn't get along with the teacher because I couldn't spell cat.
Mm.
I had what they called dyslexia, and I couldn't get my numbers right, see. And I still can't. And the teacher would get me by the hand and start beating me in the hand, you know. And I'd grab the ruler and I'd take it off of her. And then I'd leave the class and I'd go home and I'd hang out in the woods. And then they had, in those days, a truant officer. And they'd come in and get me. They never found me.
Mm.
They couldn't get me because I lived in the woods. And then I'd get going to my mother and do what I had to do. When I got to the age of about 8 or 9, it was in our house at home. The Depression was still going on, and nobody had anything. A gallon of gas was 10 cents. A loaf of bread was a 10 cents. You know, bologna was 10 cents. But nobody had the dime. I was fortunate. I lived on a little farm, and we had lots to eat. We
Mm.
had chickens, we had rabbits, we had everything. And I was coming down the steps one day at night. My mom and dad was in the bedroom, and I could hear them talking. And my mother says, I remember this so plain. He says, Eddie, I'm laying on the steps listening to her, see. And he said, she said, I don't know what we're going to do, Eddie. We just don't have enough money, and we can't afford it. Just it's not good, it's just not working out right. And my dad would start worrying a bit, and mother would say, "Don't worry, the Lord will take care of something. See, she'll get help. We'll get help someplace." And I was sitting on the steps listening so close. And then in the morning, I went to the kitchen and I told her, I said, "Mom, I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to go get a job. Is that okay with you?" I says, she says, Warren, you should never ask me if it's okay. She says, you ask the Lord if it's okay. Then
Mm.
you'll find out. I says, Mom, you're crazy. I says, I can't talk to the Lord. He don't speak to me. She says, you be patient. He'll speak to you. And that's what she said. So I ended up and I got a job as a paper boy. I was working for this other guy had the route sewed up. He was a crippled guy and he had a car and all the papers would come to his house. Then he'd deliver them for me and I got a quarter of a cent of paper. I had to sell 4 papers to make a dime, penny,
Wow.
And that's how I started. And I peddled those papers, and I built that route up, and I got a hold of the Post Gazette. At that time, I was delivering the Pittsburgh Press for him, see, just after school. And I built that up, and I got a hold of the Pittsburgh Press, Pittsburgh Sun Telegraph, and the Post Gazette. I delivered all 3 of them.
Wow.
And I started that route, didn't have no customers, but I started delivering them. In the morning at 4:30, I picked papers up at the Cohen store, at the morning paper, Post Gazette. 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning. And I peddled papers, carried them on my back until I got, I think it was $8 or $9 saved up, and I bought a used bicycle. I had a bike now, so I was using that all the time.
You weren't using a bike beforehand? You were just
Yeah,
walking and throwing the papers?
yeah, and it was in the country.
Yeah.
And I built that road up, and I built Don Montreal Village and all the houses down there. I went down there. I built that up almost to 99 customers.
Wow.
Now I'm making money,
Mm-hmm.
I deliver them in the morning, and the evenings after school, I deliver the Sun Telegraph and the Pittsburgh Press.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all of them to deliver. And that's what I did. Then I shoveled coal. In the daytime, I could shovel coal for 25 cents a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it for the schools. I did it for the churches. But I wouldn't do it if I had to carry it up steps to get to the house. I wouldn't take that job, see?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I took all that money I ever made and took it home and gave it to Mom.
Wow.
She put it in her jar, and that helped a lot. That's what I did. And I didn't get along in school because of my spelling, And I constantly played hooky.
Played what?
Played hooky.
Oh.
I just
Yeah.
would run away from school.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd lock me in rooms for doing things, and I'd escape. They didn't like that. I jumped out of windows. To get my bike and off I'd go because I had work to do. And that's what I did when I went to school. Mom and Dad didn't even know it. They thought I was in school sometime. My mom find out.
I was gonna say, how did your mom react to when?
She said, I hope your dad never finds out.
Mm. Did he ever find out?
I don't think he did. And that's what we worked. When I was a young boy, that were up where the field, where the schools are now, where the cornfields and oat fields. We didn't own the ground, but we farmed the land.
Mm-hmm.
And as a little boy, we'd shovel hay up on a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Those pitchforks had about a 12-foot handle on them. You pick up the hay, and the guy up there would pile it up,
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd climb up there, and I'd drive the horses up Scott Avenue, right into the barn, and I'd stop. And I was a young kid then. I was in school. I don't know how old I was, older. And I thought, oh boy, I'm a big shot. I'm driving these horses. But the horses knew right where to go.
Yeah.
And that was my Uncle Fred. He had the
Mm-hmm.
horses, see. And then the farmers, and this guy Fred, he married my dad's sister. That was Aunt Minnie.
Mm-hmm.
That was Minnie. And then the other jars they had two farms there. They were small farms, and we farmed them all.
Mm.
And we had plenty to eat, a lot to eat, and no money. But and then we gave a lot of. In them days, the bums would come
Mm.
and bum around the house, and they beg for food. But I think they mark where the other guys to go, and my mother says, "Okay, you sit over there on that bench. I'll feed you." And she'd bring them out ham and eggs,
Mm.
bacon and eggs,
Yeah.
because we butcher the pigs, and we'd butcher the pigs. We had a salt mill, see,
Mm-hmm.
and hanging up the meat. We salted it all down,
Yeah, curing it. Yeah.
and we'd go over and cut a cuck off of there and take it in the house, and Mom would clean it up.
Wow.
What we cut off, we packed more salt on that, see. You go in there and all the flies are flying around on it. And, it was a good meat. We ate it all.
Mm-hmm. What did your dad do for work?
Oh, he worked for Pittsburgh Outdoor,
Okay.
a company there. And when the Depression got really bad, why, they were asking people to take cuts. And a lot of guys wouldn't take the cuts, so they had to fire them. And my dad would take the cuts, and some days he'd work, and some days he didn't work, and he was off and on all the time. And he did part-time work, too, when he could find stuff. But that's the way it was in the Depression. It was a hard time. And then I'd shovel coal. I did it for the churches and the schools.
Mm-hmm.
I even took my shotgun to school, and a shotgun where I'd keep it in the coal bin. And Charlie King was there in school. I had 4 rooms in it,
Mm-hmm.
and went up to the 9th grade. And Charlie King was there, and he'd put my gun away for me because I helped. He was a one-legged man,
Yeah.
and he was the guy that cleaned the school up, and that's the way I started out working.
Where did he put your gun while you were at school?
Just leaning up against the wall in his little office there.
Can't do that anymore, right?
Oh, and
Yeah.
they couldn't do it today. No,
Yeah,
you couldn't
no.
do that today.
No.
There was no problem at all then.
You brought your gun to school just so you can hunt after school? You said you'd shoot
Yeah,
some
on the way
rabbits
home.
on the way
On
home.
the way home from
Yeah.
school, I pick up something to eat.
Yeah. Would you just ride your bike to school, or how did you get to school?
Well, yeah, I rode my bike. We had no school buses.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mother had 5 girls and 3 boys,
Mm.
and 2 grandmothers, and Mom and Dad all lived in that house.
Wow.
And every day, they had a big round table in that kitchen, and that food was on the table.
Wow.
And how they did it, I'll never know.
That's amazing.
Then I got older and older, and at that time, as I got older, when they bombed Pearl Harbor, at that time I was 16
Okay.
and still peddled papers.
Wow.
When
How big was your route now when you were doing
It
that?
was pretty big. I had almost 100 customers.
Wow.
But I would work in between that, too, see. And the guy from the Pittsburgh Press called me up, and he said, "Warren, get up on that boulevard and pick up those papers. They bombed Pearl Harbor and sell them." So I did. I went up there, and I didn't know where Pearl Harbor was. I never heard of it. I didn't know what it was for, why everybody was excited. So I'm standing up there selling an extra paper, bombed Pearl Harbor, and the cars are riding by, and they're lining up, and I'm giving them papers. They'd give me a quarter, not even ask for change.
Wow.
And I thought, boy, this is a moneymaker. And I took all that home to the Mom, see. And That's when I started.
Yeah.
And then another guy came to me, and he says, "Hey, Warren, Pittsburgh Saw and Tool is in Etna, and they're looking for machinists." He said, "Can you do that?" I can do everything. So I went down there, and I got a job there. And he put me to work, the guy that worked there. His name was Hughes, and he helped me out. He's a good help. He knew my family was in trouble.
Mm.
In fact, he knew everybody was in trouble then. My mom died and Pap died. This guy Hughes, he died, and he's buried right with my mom and dad right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good deal. Anyway, he
We're-
got me a solid job, and I worked it down there, plus delivered the papers after I got done working.
Wow.
So I never, hardly ever went to school.
When did you start thinking about going into the service?
When I got 18, they drafted me.
Mm.
Now, when it first started, my brother, he volunteered in the Air Corps, my oldest brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do that, so I was 16 then.
Mm-hmm.
And in 16, I joined Pennsylvania Auxiliary, they called it. And we had little hats you put on those tin hats. They were First World War hats, you know. And run around making. You remember we had we had blackouts, and I'd run around and make sure all the lights were on and nobody was seeing. And I had you to turn out your lights, and that's what I did there. And in the Pennsylvania Auxiliary, that was like taking basic training.
Mm.
And then I went to I forget the name of that building now. It was a big building over there. Anyway, that's where we did our training. We trained with the '03 rifles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't absolutely shoot no ammunition, but we learned to aim them. We set up boxes, and they taught us how to march. They taught us how to
Hand-to-hand combat.
yeah, and all that stuff.
And this is when you were 16.
Yeah.
So they were pretty much saying, like, you're probably going to get drafted, so let's prepare you before you do,
Well,
type of thing.
is what we did. We went on maneuvers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you wore a red band, I wore a blue band. Now you're an enemy,
Mm-hmm.
see? And we blew up the KDKI tower right at Nelson Park there. Blew up the Westinghouse Bridge, you know, with them little powder puffs. you
Yeah.
know? And your job was to keep us from raiding it. Our job was to get in there without getting caught.
Wow.
And the city boys, I felt sorry for them because they couldn't stand the dark.
Mm.
And I was a country boy, and I could.
Yeah.
And we'd go up to the KDK tower, I remember, and sneak through. Now, if you had a red, and I'd throw this hit and hit you, you're dead. See? But the city boys didn't have patience enough to wait, and they were a little nervous and with dark, you know. But I wasn't that way. And
Why were you okay with the dark? You said you grew up on the
well,
country
we
and you
lived
were
way
okay
out
with
in the
it?
country,
Yeah.
and we had gas lights,
Yeah.
you know. And we had grapevines going up, one on each side with a boardwalk in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and a tarp. We built a tarp over top of it with the poles and lumber. And the grapes grew up and covered up. You could go clean up to the chicken coop, never get wet when it was raining. Now, if you walked up there with a boardwalk we put in, if you made a right turn, you went to the chicken coop.
Mm-hmm.
If you made a left turn, you went to the outhouse. That's what we did there. See, that's the way we lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we was getting water up the house. We had a pump in the backyard. We'd pump it up. We finally got the plumbing in the house. And on the hillside up there was a spring.
Mm-hmm.
The well was always going dry. So we got the spring. We built a great big rock bin around that, my dad and us boys. And we even had it onto the house. Run a pipe down there, run a water pipe into the chicken coop all the way down to the hill, and that was up at top of the hill and into the house, and it even had water going up. And then we put a bathroom in.
Wow.
There was no pressure; it was just a flow.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the house was lower than the spring, so we got water upstairs.
That's incredible.
It was something. We lived good,
Yeah. That's amazing.
and that's the way we started out.
Mm-hmm. So when you were drafted, what was your thought process with that?
Well, when I got drafted, I was 16 years old, and then I turned 18.
Mhm.
Bam, I got it.
Mhm.
They put me in the service, and they put me, the first place I was Indiantown Gap. They took me to train up to Indiantown Gap in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And that's where I got up there. The first day I was up there, they put me on KP.
Mm.
And that job at KP, you take care of the camp. And the first thing I did, they gave me a job painting a fence.
Mhm.
So I painted the fence. It was a little fence, too, just decoration,
Yeah.
And they had I had my uniform when I was painting. And when an officer would go by, I had to stand up and salute him. I didn't know what I was doing. And one guy said, "You don't have to do it when you're on duty like that. Don't do that."
Mhm.
Then I went inside this nice restaurant they had, and they had the music playing. And I was in there working around, sitting up, setting the tables and moving chairs around like they asked me to do, whatever I had to do. And they had a sign on the wall, great big sign on the wall. It's painted up there. You can see it, a big restaurant.
Mm.
And the sign says, "The Japs get rice. The Nazis eat wood. Stop bitching, buddy. You're eating good."
That's incredible.
That's what they had the first time up there.
Wow.
And that's on KP there. And and then from there, I was there maybe, I'd say at the most a week or two.
Mhm.
And then they took me, but I went over to Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland, put me in trucks, took a gang of us over there. And Aberdeen Proving Grounds was like a separation camp.
Mhm.
This is where you went in, and they give you papers to fill out, and what you was good to do, and what kind of job you'd be fit to do. And my dad told me, "Warren, don't you ever admit you can't do it. Don't you
Mm.
ever admit anything like that."
Fake it till you make it, right?
He said, "You tell them you can do any damn thing you want."
Mm.
He learned that when I was a kid.
Mm.
I'll back up a little bit why he told me that.
Yeah.
When I was peddling papers with that bicycle, I had a friend, Bill Shaw.
Mhm.
And Bill Shaw, he talked to me. He says, "Warren, that bicycle needs an oil job, grease job." He says, "You know what? We're putting Vaseline in it now." He says, "It really makes those spokes go good and the wheels, bearings, and everything." So he greased my back wheel. I went home, had supper at the table, and I was bragging as a kid. I says, "Boy, Pap, I got my bike greased." He said, "Where'd you get your bike greased?" I said, "Bill Shaw gave me. It cost me a quarter to get it done." Pap says, "You what?" "You get your ass down the cellar. Get down there in the garage." And I went down the garage. I'll grab that bike and turn it upside down. I'll take it apart. He says, "Nobody does work around here." He says, "You do your own work."
Mm.
He taught me how to take the bike apart right there. But my dad was hard on me. He was really hard.
Mm.
And then after that, why, I learned his lesson. And he told me, "Don't ever admit it. You can't do it." See.
Mm.
But back to Aberdeen Proving Grounds, they give me this thing to fill out. See, you just check off what you can do.
Mhm.
I didn't know what it was even reading. I couldn't read what it says. I checked off everything. I didn't care what they want me to do.
Yeah.
You know, I can do anything. It's
Yeah.
a yes and no question. See,
Is that to try to figure out like when you deploy what they need you to
we
do?
did
Yeah.
what kind of work you
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
See, so they asked me, "How come you filled out everything?" I said, "There ain't nothing I can't do." And I couldn't spell right, couldn't
Mhm.
write anything. So they separated me out, and they slapped me in basic training, and took me on another truck, me and a bunch of guys, into the Chesapeake Bay.
Mhm.
We got in boats at the Chesapeake Bay, great big rowboats. They were big boats. I don't know how many guys was in there. We was rowing out, a couple guys row it, and then a towboat came, hooked us on, and pulled us to an island. And there's where I had the basic training in the island.
What island was it?
I don't know, on some island over there. And that's where we learned to load rifles and march and
Mhm.
do all that. And we had hand-to-hand combats. There's another funny thing.
Yeah.
They was teaching us hand-to-hand combat, and they had an instructor there, and he'd say, "You come over here, I'll show you something." So he'd call some kid over, and he'd throw this kid, and he'd throw the kid down. See, they had mats there.
Mm-hmm.
See, well, I learned all of that in place I was in Pennsylvania, the auxiliary.
Mm-hmm.
I had all of that training. It was better training there than there was at basic training.
Really?
A lot better. And he picked me out of a crowd when my turn come, and I throwed him on his butt.
The instructor?
The instructor,
wow.
yeah. Then he got up and he walked over to me and he grabbed me and I threw him again. He was choking me, see?
Yeah.
And then I threw him again. He comes back and he says, "Where the hell did you ever learn that?" I said, "You never wrestled with a goat, did you?" That's all
I bet he
said.
didn't like that.
That's all I said to him. And he shook his head.
That's funny.
And then one time, I got a gig that they was punishing me for something, see?
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to make fields. They wanted better fields, and to do that, they had to chop the trees down, dig out the stumps. So he gave me, for punishment, to dig out a stump. And he gave me a shovel and a pick. I said, "I want an axe, too."
Mm.
And I would start digging that old ditch, and I knew how to dig trees out because we did that at home.
Mm-hmm.
We cleared a lot of trees out to get the swamps cleaned out, I had that damn thing out of there about a day and a half, and they couldn't believe it. Everybody was out in the field marching around, and I was chopping the stumps out.
Wow.
Because I knew how to do it. We did it on the farm.
What was the reaction when you were like, "I'm done"? Were they like?
He couldn't believe it. They just couldn't believe it. I guess, I don't know. Country living is different than city living.
Mm-hmm.
Really different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then from there, I went up to Shenango, Pennsylvania.
Shenango.
It's right up the road from here. It ain't too far, almost Erie.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite. And there's where I saw my first prison camp.
Mm.
And that they had prisoners up there, German prisoners. And these German prisoners had more rights than the black boys.
Mm.
These German prisoners, they had drove the trucks, they picked up the garbage, they cleaned everything up. They were allowed to go in the PX. They were allowed to go where the colored people weren't allowed to go.
Wow.
And I could never figure that out because I can remember the first colored person I ever met. There was old Sullivan. Sullivan was some kind of a city politician, and he had a place close to our house, across the field over there, and this maid would come out and take care of the house all the time. It was a black lady.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she'd walk across this field to Mom's house, to where we was, and I was a little boy then. And I would sit in the kitchen and listen to her talk, and I liked her. She was a nice person, and she'd come over for eggs, see? And my mom would sit at the table, and they'd drink coffee together, and then they'd go up to chicken coop and get all the eggs she wanted and go home, see? But I liked her. She was a nice person, just because she was so different and funny,
Mm.
I never seen a colored person before.
Mm.
That's where I met colored people, and she was a nice person.
Yeah. Why do you think that the German prisoners, you still don't know why? Maybe they got more leisure than.
Because that's the way the Americans are.
Mm.
Americans don't punish people. They don't.
Mm.
Anyway, and they were good. These guys, I had seen no problems with them. I had no problems, and we spoke to them, and they spoke to us.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They were happy to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And from there, they put me on a train right through Pittsburgh, across a great big bridge, that iron bridge there, and sent me up to it's right in western Pennsylvania, eastern part of the state, the
Mhm.
camp up there.
Mhm.
I forget what that was. And that's where I entered up with a KP job and all that stuff.
Mhm.
See?
After the KP job, when did you kind of begin to get the idea that you were going to forward deploy?
Pardon?
When did you start to like deploy after the KP job? Like what was the
Well,
time?
that was then from there to
Mm-hmm.
basic training in
Mm-hmm.
the Yow, and that was over. Then we got up to Shenango. Then
Shenango, yeah.
we went back there, and then they sent me to Buffalo from there.
Okay.
Buffalo, New York's where I ended up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's where they had a delousing. Take
Mm-hmm.
all your clothes off, pitch them away, and they deloused you, give you your army clothes, and then they cut your hair, give you that bald thing, And they just cut my hair, And this guy says to me, he whispers in my ear, the barber. He says, "Hey, buddy, you got a dirty head." He said, "I wash it for 50 cents. I said, "I like my head dirty. Just leave it the way it is." I never had no money.
Mm-hmm.
I had no money, see? So he didn't he didn't wash it. And then I left there. When I left there, is when I ended Maryland. And then after at Shenango, I went up there, then to New York. From Buffalo, we went down to New York in the Hudson River.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the boats going down the river. And we got in a camp down there, And by that time, when I was in Buffalo, they put me in the 4th Division,
Mm-hmm.
4th Army Division. That's what I was in. I goes to New York, and they gave us one day off to go to the town.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into town with the rest of these guys, and we went into a bar. And I get in the bar, and I don't drink, never did. I gets in the bar, and everyone's bellying up to the bar, and I went up to the bar to belly up the rest of them. The guy says, "What do you want?" And he walks over to me, and he says, "We don't serve minors."
Mm.
I told him, "By God, I'm no miner. I'm a farmer." I didn't even know what. Oh, I thought he was. See, we had coal mines up
Mm-hmm.
there in Allison Park,
Mm-hmm.
and there were miners to us guys,
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, "By God, I'm no miner. I'm a farmer." So I did get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
amazing.
all I had. And at that time is the time when I saw Frank Sinatra.
Mm.
And he was rehearsing someplace, and the kids were all screaming and hollering around the street down there. And somebody said, "That's Frank Sinatra." And I didn't even know who he was either.
Perks of being a country kid, right?
Then we get in a town here in a warehouse, I'll call it. Spent that night. The next morning, we started getting on a ship, Aquitania.
That was the name of the ship.
It was it was about the third largest cruise ship, and it was an English ship,
Mm-hmm.
and they converted it to a troop ship.
Wow.
So I'm walking up the plant of that. By that time, they gave us all their packs and ammunition that we were going to take, and the guns. We didn't have ammunition, but we had all our equipment. And I'm walking up this plank, and I stopped to look around. I had never seen New York. It's the furthest I ever been from home. I looked around at everything, and the guys had it there with a machine gun guarding us. And they hollered at me for stopping. "Hey, you get going there," he hollered, And I turned around and I said, "We're going over and get our butt shut off, not you, buddy."
Mm.
So it's on a ship, and there we go.
Mm.
Took me 14 days to get over to England.
Wow.
Scotland, got to Scotland.
Okay, so you went to Scotland. What weapon were you carrying for your primary weapon? What did they have you guys carrying?
M1.
Okay, M1 Grand.
That's where they issued the equipment,
Mhm.
And that was mostly training, too, to carry all the pack and the junk with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we had all of it.
Yeah.
It was a light load.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets on a ship. It took 14 days to get over there, and they zigzagged around and all around. Clean up around Iceland, clean up around Newfoundland and Iceland and down. And when I remember, I looked at the ships. I crawled out of bed and looked up there, and all the decks and everything was covered with snow and ice. It was
Wow.
so damn cold. And they had the ropes tied from this point to that point for the sailors
Mm-hmm.
to hang on to that rope and go to their position, because they were looking for, with their glasses, they were looking for submarines and airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
So they had it tough too,
Mm.
you know, and so over there, and it came down to the time I got to Scotland, all the ice was gone and melted off, and we pulled into the dock someplace in Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland
Hmm.
it was.
How was your time? How was your time on the boat? Was it?
It was all right. We just crowded.
Hmm.
A lot of guys got sick, but I was very fortunate I didn't get sick.
Yeah. What was your thought process? Like, what were you thinking about when you were going over there? Like, were you worried, nervous?
No, never did.
Mm.
Never got worried or nervous. Never
Mm.
did. Hell, I was glad to go.
Yeah.
You know, get away from the chicken farms.
No more papers. Yeah.
No, yeah, that was gone. I gave all that
Yeah.
up. I had to see, and then I gets to Scotland, and I gets on the deck. They march down a plank and get on a big dock, like, and there was some women standing there in uniforms, and I just said something to the guys. I said, "Well, boys, you're now in England," and this here some woman, whoever she was, she's all dressed up in an army uniform of some sort. She walks over to me and she says, "You are not in England, you are in Scotland." Those two are arguing, I guess, you
Yeah.
know. It's like the North and the South here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's the first place I saw my first air raid.
Mm. How was that when you saw that? I mean, what was?
And the sirens are going off and it's dark in the morning. It's dark over the dead time, you know, and they call everybody in a shelter. And when the shelters, the bomb shelters were, they dug a big hole
Mm-hmm.
and built a Quonset hut
Mm-hmm.
in this hole. Then they covered it up. And then they had a place to get in, see.
Mm-hmm.
So all the guys are going in there, and I didn't go in there because I wanted to see what an air raid was like.
Wow.
I never heard of it. So I jumped in the hedgerow there, and I stood there and waited, and I could see the lights flashing. I could hear the bombs going off, and the bombs boom. It was way down south.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even close, you know, and I didn't think it was so bad, you know. And then I don't know how long we were there. It wasn't long, maybe 2 or 3 days at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Lines us up, put us on a train, and now I'm in the 4th Division.
Mm-hmm.
Gets on that train and goes straight through England, all the way down as far through the big cities. It was blowed up. London, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I ever seen in London was I looked out the window of the train, and that's all I could see. And they went right through one and clean down to the South Point and across the bay from Thelma. That's where they had all the ships and everything,
Mm-hmm.
see. And I gets in there, it gets into a camp, and the guys, they had a big meeting, and they called us into a great big hall. A lot of guys in there, hundreds of them. And this guy walks up on the stage, and he makes an announcement of what they're going to do and what you guys you have to do. He says, "Now we're looking for volunteers to go into 531st Special Brigade." He says, "I'm going to tell you right now." And first he gave us a story how bad the Germans were and how they're stripping the countries and the people are starving.
Mm-hmm.
And he told us we're going to invade France. And if you want to join this is a volunteer outfit. And he said, if you get into this 531st Brigade, he says, some of you ain't coming back. He said, so you're not obligated to join. It's a volunteer thing. So me and a couple guys went in. I was 18 years old. What do I know? So I get in as a 531st Special Brigade. I'm no longer in the 4th Division now. So I thought. And I was in the 531st Brigade.
Mm-hmm.
After I get in that brigade, you know, we went into training.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we trained almost a year for one job, and that was to invade France.
What was that training like?
It was tough. It was so damn tough. You weren't allowed to walk. You had to run if you had to go to the latrine, you would run. And most of the time we were sleeping outside. We didn't have no barracks. We did have barracks to begin with, but when we go on maneuvers, we didn't have barracks, see. And they would treat us how to invade things and climb the cliffs and do everything you had to do. It was so tough training. I trained almost a year for one thing is that, and they trained us so damn hard. It's like a dog. The dog would run into the fire to get the ball out, and that's about we were trained. And it was good training. It was damn good training for what you had to do there.
Hmm. What was the toughest part for you?
Huh?
What was the toughest part for you in that training?
I don't know. I didn't. I just took it. I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't know it was no tough. The toughest part, I can tell you, the toughest part was we would go on maneuvers. See,
Mm-hmm.
and one maneuver we had was Operation Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get on those damn computers you got there, and you can look it up yourself.
Yeah.
Did you ever look that up?
No.
Well, you should.
Okay.
Operation Tiger was a maneuver we were on. See, and every maneuver we went on, it had a name.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'd go on these maneuvers, and sometimes we'd be gone for 3 or 4 days. Then the paratroops were going to invade this place, and the paratroops would jump ahead of us and practice and all that stuff. And then we'd try different type beaches,
Mm-hmm.
or to get on the Higgins boat and throw them up the beaches. And then Operation Tiger, you remember that? Operation Tiger at Slapping Sands was the name of the beach. And Slapping Sands was an invitation to the Normandy beach, as close as they could get. And all the people, the farmers that lived down there, gave all their land up. And they chased them all away, because that was the battlegrounds where we were training.
Mm.
And every training, I think it was Operation Tiger. That was the name of that maneuver. And we gets out in the ocean, or we're on our ships, see, and we're coming in. Well, the Germans came out of Cherbourg, and I didn't even know where Cherbourg was. But in our training that we had frogmen in the brigade, paratroopers in the brigade, and everything, Army, Navy, and Air is the name of our patch.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that, and it was Army, Navy, Air, Land, and Sea.
Mm-hmm.
See, we had frog guys crawling in.
The Navy SEAls.
Then you had to sign. No,
Oh, okay.
they were the first 531st Brigade guys.
Okay.
They went in a submarine and went in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they put me as a rifleman. I did jump out of an airplane one time, but it was never off the ground. Then they were training the paratroopers. They'd jump in and bring back messages from the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And the frogmen did the same thing. And we knew every house, every beach, every bunker was right on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And they told us, it was teaching us bunker 1, bunker 2, bunker 3 were the main bunkers on Utah Beach. This is the ones we were training for Utah. Somebody else was training for some other beach. See?
Mm-hmm.
And we got that training in there, and we knew every road and street there.
Wow. How long did that training last?
Well, we trained for almost a year.
Wow. What years were? Do you remember what year?
Yeah, it was in 43.
Okay.
And we was over there. Anyway, on Operation Tiger, the Germans had these torpedoes go, we're on these ships now. We're going to invade this beach. See?
Mm-hmm.
And the English paper were supposed to come in back of us and give us guard the back of us. See, well, they didn't get there. They didn't do it. And the torpedo ships come out of Cherbourg, and at that time I didn't even know where Cherbourg was, but I soon learned it because I helped liberate it. And then they come over, they sunk 2 of our ships and managed and mangled one of them, other one that didn't sink. They killed over 800 men.
Wow.
Right on the invade. You look up on your computer, you'll learn. I got a whole story of it downstairs.
Well, and that's because the torpedo ships, the Germans came because the
nobody
English
knew
didn't back you guys up from behind.
Yeah. And it was late at night, and I could see the fires flying and everyone shooting, and they don't know what they're shooting at, and I didn't shoot. Nobody, but the big guns were shooting. They didn't know what they were shooting at either. And the torpedo ships, there were three of them, come in, and it was ships sunk, I don't know. According to things that I read, anywhere from 800 to 900 men were lost there from the 531st, 4th Division in the Navy.
Wow.
Counting them all up, that's how many guys they lost.
And you were on a boat when this was happening?
Yeah, I was on the ship, and I could hear all of it, but nobody knew what was going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And then they started, I seen the bodies floating around in the water, a lot of packs, and they were just polluted with it, and took us back to camp. And when we got in camp, we weren't allowed out of camp no more. They put guards around to keep us in camp and put us in strict training, too. So that was about April the 28th. So in June, we went in, see, and kept that a secret for all those years, and nobody ever knew it for at least when I got home and discharged. I know my mother and dad never heard of it. No one ever heard of it. But now everybody knows about it since they released it.
Wow. When did you figure it out?
I knew what was going on. That's why they kept us in prison.
Mm-hmm.
They made a prison camp out of us, and we learned right there. We kept training up.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't allowed to walk. You had to run. Every place you went, full pack, empty pack, or bathroom, you better be running.
Yeah. But you got in pretty good shape, though.
Oh, all those guys are in good shape.
Yeah, yeah. So after Operation Tiger, what was it? What was your path
Operation Tiger, back to the camp, and then comes time, the buses came and picked us up, and the buses didn't have no motor in them.
Mm-hmm.
They had a motor, but no gas. So they put a coal thing in the back to burn logs and build a fire and heat it up, make a steam engine out of it.
Wow.
And they'd load up the bus, and they didn't have the power to pull the hills. So we got out, and we had to walk up the hills, maybe a half a bus load they might. And then get up there, then we'd go get on the bus. And we finally got to the docks, and we was marching the docks to get on the ship. And we're walking through there, and all the English people were watching us, and as English women would walk by and say, "God bless you, Yank. God bless you, Yank. God bless you, Yank,"
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Lord blessed me somehow because I got through the basic training good, and I took it well, and I'm not a bragger, but by God, I was good at what I was doing there. And I was penetrating it. They taught me how to penetrate the lines, go behind the German lines and do it. And that's what they were teaching me to do. And when the invasion come, we gets on the ship, and we're sitting there, I don't know how many days. Then we starts going on. We must have got on the ship about the 3rd, June the 3rd, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they starts out, and then they call us back, because we were going to go there on the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come back because the weather was bad, and it was really raining and storming.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 6th, they says, well, according to what the news I got, weather broke overseas, but the water was still rough. So and Eisenhower gave us the point to go, so we went, And we went across there, and boy, were those boys sick. A lot of them were sick. It was terrible. They were so sick they weren't fit for combat.
Mm-hmm.
They got seasick. Unfortunately, I didn't get sick.
Yeah.
And I see one guy, he's puking over the side of the ship, and the officer says, "You have a weak stomach, son?" He says, "No, damn it." He says, "I'm throwing it as far as the rest of them."
That's funny. Oh my gosh.
Out there, they were good people. Those people were good. And then we gets over there, and we gets over there, and our turn to pull up and line up and get unloaded. And I can't see the land yet.
Mm-hmm.
We get across down these rope ladders, into the Higgins boat.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a guy, these ladders are great big wide things with straps on them.
Mm-hmm. For context, this was. Are you going to the beach right now? Or are you
Yeah,
going
we're
to
headed
Utah
for the
Beach?
beach. We're headed for Utah
Mm-hmm.
Beach. We're headed for Utah Beach.
And you get on
And
the Higgins boat, correct?
we get this. We're on the ships, and we get down these ropes to get in the Higgins boats, the rope ladders, and the guys were falling off. Some of them would fall
Mm-hmm.
and get caught between the boats, and they'd get crushed between it. It hurt their hips and legs, and then they'd haul them back up on deck, and they'd go back to England. And then when we got to England, we got on the boats loaded, and we'd go out and we'd just ride around in a circle until we all lined up. See,
Mm-hmm.
we all lined up, and then we went into the beach. And we couldn't see the beach, but the Germans could see us.
Mm-hmm.
And that part was terrible because they could train you for everything that happened, but they can't train you for what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They can't train you to see a Higgins boat get blew out of the water with a whole crew in it. They can't train you for the boats that were half sunk. They can't train you for the guys that were hanging out in the water hoping to get picked up. And we gets into the beach, and they dropped the ramp, and I was standing on the left side of the boat about 5 feet back, if that far. I had my wife when I showed her right where I was standing. Anyway, the ramp dropped, and the guys, they machine gunned that. They didn't even get off the ramp. They trained all that year, and never got off the ramp.
Mm.
I went over the side, and I was in water up to my damn neck, and I hold my rifle up. Anyway, I got in there, and it's walking and walking, and everybody's falling, and I didn't get hit.
Wow.
And I got in there, and I made it up to the beach, and I took protection behind one of those metal obstacles, and I seen my buddies running up. This one guy was running up, one of our brigade guys. We went in there before everybody else. We were the first ones that ever hit Omaha Beach. And we were to get the Germans pinned down and get rid of them so the engineers could come in and blow up all the mines and everything and clear the beach and get the equipment in. And this kid was running up there, and the machine gun was blasting, and I could see that bullet coming on the sand, like you throw pebbles in the water.
Mm.
And they hit this boy, and it shot his leg off from our brigade, And that boy got up 3 times to run. And he couldn't run, but he didn't, and he was trained that hard. Yet, those guys were trained good.
Mm.
And I seen him, and I didn't do nothing about it. And they told us, if your buddy gets down, you get up and jump over him and get in there. Get in as far as you can get. So I got in there, and I got up to the wall. He went over to the wall, starts up, and I'm going to start crawling up through the hedgerows. And I had hand grenades, and I had a cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it up to a church. And this church was, I went in, I don't know what time I got there. It was daylight. It was daylight even when I hit the beach. Anyway, I gets in there, and I don't know where the rest of the guys are.
Mm-hmm.
And I enter the back of this church, but you just don't walk in. You crawl, get so far and listen. And if you hear some noise over there, you give it a click. And if they click back, he's a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't hear it, throw a hand grenade. And you keep going and keep going. I got to the back of this church, and I'll tell you, I think it took me at least 10 to 15 minutes before I could make a move and decide what to do and how many guys are in there. And then listen, you got to listen damn good. You listen for a stick to break or someone breathing or anything. And then you move in, and I got to the back of the church, and I entered, and nobody was there.
Wow.
And I walked in the back of that church, was blown out. The sides were sort of caved, the roof was gone. The front was in bad shape. The pews were all dangled up. The pulpit was laying there. still standing. I stood beside the pulpit and I wiped the dirt off of it, looked at it. The Bible was thick Bible, was still laying there. And I just I brushed it off and walked away. And I was supposed to go to St. Maria Glees to help relieve the paratroopers because they were in trouble too. I never got there. I got to St. Marie de Mont instead of St. Maria Glees. I went the wrong way. I got up to St. Marie de Mont.
Were you just given the wrong directions?
Huh?
Were you just given the wrong, how did you, you said you ended up at
St. Marie de Mont.
Yeah.
It's inland.
Yeah.
About a mile or so. And I got in there, and I didn't know where the hell I was. I thought I was going the right way. Everybody thought they was.
Gotcha.
But everybody was lost. Well, I got to St. Rita about it was daylight. And there's where I saw my second paratroopers coming in, the 531st, 101st, 82nd. The 82nd Airborne come in. I looked around, and as far as I can see, from right to left was parachutes coming down. It scared me half to death. I thought, holy boy, they were in deep duty now, buddy. I thought they were Germans.
Oh, man.
I really thought they were Germans. I thought you're going to have a hell of a time now. One guy came down late, and we come down. When they got close enough to find out that the plane I suddenly had a star on it, then I knew they were the paratroopers. That was a big relief. Anyway, this one guy, I was laying beside the St. Rita Mont Cemetery. There was a old road coming up there. And I was laying right there. And up the road, I could see the sign, St. Rita Mont, see? Which confused me, because I was thinking it was very release. And this guy's coming down with a parachute, and he's hanging on by one hand, and he has his trench knife out, and he's cutting the straps off. And when he hit the ground, he let the parachute go, and he got behind a tombstone. And I was laying in the ditch. And I hollered at him, hey, get over here. So he come over, and we laid in this ditch together and talked. And I asked him, I said, why did you get out of that airplane so damn late? He was what they call the jump sergeant. And his job is to make sure all the people are out of the plane, then he goes. He's the last guy out. He said, when I cleared that plane out, he says that damn pilot learned that thing back so hard, he rolled clean back to the tail. He said, I had to crawl out of my hands and knees and roll out to get out of that plane. And that's why he was late. He landed there, and we talked, and he told me that story. And we talked about our situation, And I think we must have laid there 15, 20 minutes. And he said, well, I'm going to go find my troops. I said, okay, you go find yours, I'll find mine. So I went on and up, and I ended up to St. Rita Mont, because I could hear the shooting going on. And I got up there, and I run into some of my guys, a couple of our guys. And one of the guys says to me, he was an officer of some sort, he says, how about you going back to the beach and get some ammo and bring up some more grenades? It was okay. I said, so me and two other guys went back. I get back to the beach, and one day they had the tents up for the women had come in with the nurses, had their tents up, and all the guys were laying on the beach. And the tents were up for all the food, or not the tents, but the ammunition dump was placed one place, and the hospital, the girls had their tents up already. And I get back there, and I see some of my men, they're laying there, and they got them laying on stretchers, and they're all shocked, And they had a bundle of a bale of blankets all strapped up. It was their supply, the nurse's supply. And I went to get a blanket and cover up some of my men. And because they need it. And a damn guy walks over to me, and he says, you ain't allowed to get those blankets. And I said, I'm getting them. I said, my men are covered up, and I'm going to cover them up. But he don't touch that. And I cut that damn strip off of the thing, and I got my blankets on. I no sooner got him covered up, and here come an airplane over, you know. He come over and he dove down, and it was an airplane from the United States, a P-51. The dumbass, he come down there, and he did a barrel roll like this, and he went up in the air, and all the Americans thought he was a German. I shot at him. I didn't take many shots. The Air Corps shot at him. The infantry shot at him. The Navy was shooting at him, and the engineers were shooting at him.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, you ought to see that beehives around it. He had so many tracers, looked like a beehive.
Yeah.
Well, the guy bailed out, and that plane turned around, and he's coming down, and I'm watching him, and he looks to me like he's going to come right in my watch pocket. He was coming down, and one wing tore off, and what made him go over there, see? He must have hit the ground, I don't know, 25 or 30 feet away, and he just hit that ground and exploded. I bounced clean out of the hole, and I crawled my hands and knees, and I got into another hole where already two guys in there. See? The other guys that was with me, I don't know where they went.
Mm-hmm.
And we laid there until everything went off. The bang, and was all those 50 caliber bullets were exploding and flying around.
Mm-hmm.
And we laid in that hole, you know, until it quit. And then I crawled back out. And right there is where I smoked my first cigarette. I said to those guys, give me a cigarette. And the guy gave me a Camel.
Uh-huh.
He even lit it for
A
me
Camel?
with his Zippo lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Zippo lighters too. Everybody had them.
Yeah.
And I smoked that thing with no trouble at all. I just puffed away at it, you know. And then we crawled back, and I got hooked up with the other two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we went into the army dump, and there was a guard there. And we told him what we was after. And he told us where it was at. He says, but I'm not going in there. He said, I'll not go in that place as long as those 88s are firing. And those 88s were shooting down there. So he and we went in. And we got hand grenades, and we got calibers for M1s, you know. Pulled out, and we each was carrying a box. Out comes a Jeep. And he says, hey, buddies, where are you going up there? I said, we got to get this back to our boys. He says, get in that Jeep. We'll take you back. So we got in the Jeep, and he rode us up the St. Maria to one. And those guys were glad to get the ammunition.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Those were your guys, too?
Yeah. And then there was a lot of them was 4th Division guys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they tell me I was always attached to the 4th Division, but I never knew that.
Mm.
Oh, we got up there, and right there, by the evening, I stayed there, and there's where I spent my first night in gay Paris,
Mm-hmm.
in a ditch beside the cemetery. That was my first night in Paris.
Wow.
In France, you know.
Yeah.
And I was laying in that ditch, and somebody's poking at me. I feel
Mm-hmm.
every now and then something's hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I go, what's going on here? It was a damn frogs jumping in the hole.
Oh,
But
my
after
gosh.
that, then from there on, why, it was strictly a battle for 3 whole years.
Mm.
Counting England,
Yeah.
France. And I got back to the guys, and then I fought from there into Cherbourg.
Mm-hmm.
In the Cherbourg, we got that freed out. And I got in there, and honest to God, I was shocked when I seen all the little kids and the people. The Germans stripped them of everything.
Mm.
They had nothing. And anyway, the battle sort of settled down. I was sort of lucky. The 4th Division, they were there first. So when I got there, I had to help them clean it up, you know. Our brigade did. But every place the 4th Division went, it seemed like our brigade was there.
Mm.
And every time something would happen, they'd say, hey, we need this help over here. And we had to go over there. So we were down there, and the war ended. When Cherbourg settled down, and they started bringing ships in already. American ships were coming in and unloading there, see. And one of the officers says to me, hey, Warren, he says, how about you directing this traffic? He says, could you run this I said, what do you want me to do? He says, well, send them which way they want to go, you know. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Tanks go here, he named this equipment, and they go there, you know. So I'm there, and I'm telling these guys where to go, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know what I was doing. I had such a damn traffic jam. Everything was messed up, all tanks and trucks and jeeps, you know. Everyone had to go a different position. And the officer walks over to me and he says, look, Goss, he says, you're no damn good here. He says, you're better off in the front line. Get up there and get out of here. Now we got to take a pillbox number 3 that we started in England. That was one of the 3 pillboxes that we were supposed to take. We're supposed to take that during the invasion if we could, see. But some reason they decided to bypass it, which was a very good idea. I got pictures of that thing. I wish Rhonda would show them to you. It's the biggest bunker I ever seen. I took my girls over there to visit. I got pictures of them. I showed them this big bunker, you know. It was really big. It was a big.
And this was located where?
France, right in the peninsula of Cherbourg.
Yeah.
And that bunker there could shoot from there to England.
Wow.
And from there all the way up the beach, clean up to the Canadian beach, which is at the farthest end of the west.
How was your?
I got pictures of what that.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
Yeah, she got them in there someplace.
Yeah. How was? Were you in a lot of firefights, like from the get-go all the way through? You know, what was that like?
Well, there was time for resting a little bit, and then some conversation started. Well, somebody got to go take that pillbox now because we never took it. See, I didn't do it. If they'd asked me to do it, I'd have done it just that quick, just because that's the way we were trained to do it. So they took one squad. That's all. One squad. I guess it was about.
From your brigade, or?
Huh?
From your brigade?
Yeah.
They took one squad.
Yeah, they took it up, but they went up there. You know, the only thing, they were gone maybe all day, and they come back and they says, "Hell, that was a pushover." He says, "Nothing to it." He said, "We had to clean up maybe 2 machine gun nests." He says, "The rest of those guys were so hungry, they didn't have nothing to eat. They didn't have no ammunition, and they were running out. They just quit out of that bunker." So they brought all the prisoners back, you know.
Did you ever struggle with the fact of like you might have to take someone's life, like in the war? Was that a hard reality for you going in so young, or were you just like, this is part of it, you know?
What do you mean, take someone's life?
Like fighting, you know, like fighting and possibly killing someone, like on the other side, you know?
Well, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I felt bad for some of the things I did. I felt sorry, and I asked the Lord forgiveness.
Were you close to the Lord, like in that time as well? Like, did you really think were you praying at all or praying a lot? Like,
you know, I never got on my knees, belt down to pray, never did anything. But I talked to the Lord all the time. Because I used to ask the Lord, "Lord, you got to give me good legs. I got some running to do here. Need some help." You know, after we come through this, we fought all the way up through France to the border of Germany. Now I'm in Sterling Window. Nancy, France was a big battle. And it was what you call the Battle of the Ruhr. They got a book written for about that. The Battle of the Ruhr is an industrial part of all of Germany, all the lumber mill, coal mines, and all those people. And the Saar River was there. Saar River separated Germany from France, see. So Sterling Window was close to the Saar River, and we had to take that, and that was like another invasion. And we got through that one, and I'd run in brigades down to the river, the railroad tracks, and we'd have a squad was there was one time, and it was done. And Sergeant Bennett was with us. We had about 12 guys. We spread them out along this railroad track, and right at the river's edge. And we'd shoot across the river at nothing. And we'd try to find out how much firepower they might have over there, see, before we crossed the river. And we'd throw hand grenades and we'd holler, bring up the boat and all that kind of stuff. And it was really noisy because everybody was fired. Those M1s that everybody keep them going all the time. It was all the time a constant firing because everybody's loading. You get 8 bullets with it. And throwing hand grenades down over the riverbank. And it was trying to find out how much firepower they might have there. And Sergeant Bennett was throwing a hand grenade, and he got his hand caught in a wire that they had big cable wires that shift the railroad tracks, and his hand caught in that, and he dropped the hand grenade.
Oh, no.
And he hollered, grenade, and I thought he said, it's a raid. And I learned over my back, and I was shooting in the bushes in the back of me and everything, because I thought the Germans might have left us bypass, see. And that grenade went off. One kid, when I was later shooting, he took and he jumped over top of me, right over top of me to get away from it. And that grenade went off, and fortunately it was under the railroad track. And the only thing it did was blow the heel off of one man's boot. That's all it did.
Wow.
And then run patrols there. We was up there almost a month before we made it across the river. Sterling Window. And I run a lot of patrols up there. I had one patrol we run down, and we'd looking across the river, and they wanted me to stay there in the daytime. I had 3 guys with me. It seemed to me every time I got a guy, it was a new one. And they would go look out the window, and I said, don't do that. You don't look out windows here. You stand back because those guys are going to pick you off. So, and I looked across the river, and there was the guys over there, 3 of them, digging in a machine gun nest. And I said to those guys, see those 3 boys over there? You watch what happens to them. There's one kid, he had a shovel, and he's leaning on this shovel, and he's talking to these other 2 guys, see? And I took a shot, and I shot that spade. Shot at that spade, and boy, those guys disappeared. They took off running, see? And then another time was there, Tony Flossie. Tony Flossie was a great buddy of mine. He was a good helper. And he got caught at that same town, right before you cross that river. We was going down to this town, and I was on the right side of the road, and he was on the left. And I'd protect my windows on his side, and he'd protect the windows. So, I can't look up and see, but he can see. Yeah. That's the way we traded off. And if there was any movement, we'd shoot up the windows. Well, he got caught with a damn machine gun. It was right up that street from across that river. And I hollered at him to get, and he was at a place where there was rocky steps. I'd get behind them steps. He laid behind them steps, and every time he had moved, they'd shoot at him.
Wow.
And I says, I'll go down. I says, I'll go out back of this house. I'll see if I can clean them up. And I dropped through a cellar window. It was in a coal bin. Now I made it to the stairs, and I listened real closely. I didn't hear nobody up there, so I got in the house, and nobody was in there. I guess out the back of the house, now I'm lost. I couldn't find the river. I couldn't see the river, those big stone walls, And so I went over another wall, and I went back to where I was supposed to be, to camp, And I don't know what happened to Tony. But I got back there, and there he was. And he had his canteen shot off. His canteen was hanging there just with little threads, So he gets back there, and that way I threw my... there was we were sleeping in vacant houses. We'd occupy the buildings. And we gets in this house, and I throwed my helmet on a couch. I was going to sleep in that couch. And another guy took and he threw his whole pack on her and he laid down, see. I didn't say nothing. I went and got my helmet. I pulled the couch away from the wall, and I pushed the couch far enough for me to get behind the couch, so I slipped behind the couch, laid out my junk there and slept there. I got up in the morning and that boy was dead from them 88 shells and shrapnel.
Wow.
Shot him dead.
Wow. And did you like wake up when he got shot or?
No, I didn't know until I got out of bed. The damn shooting was coming in all night long.
Do you think that was God?
Huh?
Do you think that was like God's way of like
He was
saving
done.
you, helping you out?
Yeah, he was done. But that's what happened, and why that happened, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, many, many things happened to me.
Any other instances of like
And
of that sort of thing happening?
one time I was in a field. It was just in there, in that factory. Well, there was a field out there, and it had corn shocks in it, and there was a town at the end of that field, a big army building, industrial building. It had a big chimney on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we searched across that field as we're spread, everybody spread out, you know. And we searched across that field, and I was the lead man. They put me in the lead man, so I'm going out there, first one out, you know. And that damn machine gun up there, they had a machine gun nest in a smokestack where you could look all over that field. They let us get out there, and we got out there, they opened up fire, see? And I was running behind the corn shocks. The other guys cleared off too. I don't think they had anybody there. And I was running from corn shock to corn shock, and I could feel these bullets coming into that corn shock, you know. And I used to say, Lord, you better turn this into some kind of metal. I need protection, Lord, you know. And I made it back. I'd run from shock to shock, you know. And it's what I would do. I'd sort of time it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew they were going to run out of shots. I had to reload it. That took a time. And then I'd move, see. And I'd go to that corn shock, and I'd lay down and roll till I got to the next one down, because they'd see me running, and where I disappeared, that's where they shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd roll on the ground real low and get to another one, see. And I get out of that, and there's where I used to talk to the Lord. But I always asked him for help, you know. I never got, some of those guys had rosaries and all this stuff that don't mean nothing to me. And they'd read their beads, and I just talked to the Lord. I seen guys that kneel down on their knees and praying, oh, Lord, I'll never do this again, and you pray this for me, and I'll do that for you. I never did that. I just thanked God, and I asked him for protection, and he gave it to me.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I'll back off the story.
Okay.
Way back to England when I first got there.
Yeah.
And I saw the air raids, you know, parachutes coming down.
Yeah.
And the guy's airplane shot. I didn't know anything from anything. And I wrote my mother a letter. And I told her about parachutes coming down, and we didn't know what was going on, you know. And when I write letters, I always ask the guy how to spell it, see. You know, I got a little letter. And she sent a letter back to me. And she says, Warren, I don't know what kind of religion she was. I think she must have been one of those Bible practicing Baptists. Because, boy, she read that Bible every morning. And she sent me the 91st Psalm. And she says, Warren, this was written for you years ago. You write this, you read this every day. And she prayed that every day. And I still got it today. It's right up there.
Yeah, Psalm 91.
And I got one in my truck. I got it in my phone. And I've been carrying it ever since.
That's incredible. Wow.
You read that 91st Psalm, and it's exactly the way my life ended up too.
Wow. Did you write letters a lot to your parents?
No.
Or just very few?
I didn't know how to write, that's why.
Yeah. Did they send you any, or was it just kind of that one time?
Well, I did get a letter from my dad one time. I'll never forget that letter. He was writing me a letter.
Mm-hmm.
One page, 2 pages come up, and the other page says, Clarence, you got to pray for Warren because he's in trouble. And Clarence had a job in the Army. He was in the Air Corps, and he was in California.
Mm-hmm.
See, he got to Florida, then in California. That's where the only place he went. He
Mm-hmm.
was in the Air Corps.
Yeah.
And he even had a part-time job.
Wow.
And it's what he did in the Air Corps, see. And he said that it's the only thing I ever had, you know. And I talked to the Lord all the time, asked him for help. One time, I was in a fix, and during the battle, the road from town to village to town, it was always a fight.
Yeah.
And I got caught. We'd clean up the houses. See, you had to get up, make sure it would take about 3 guys to take one house. That was pretty easy.
You just go house to house.
Yeah.
The whole town.
We had to get rid of their ammunition. We had to get anyway. I got stuck behind. Everybody was done, and except me, and I was in this place alone. I walks out of that house, and I walks down the street, and I heard a voice in this other house across the street. You know, I stood there to listen. I could hear a little fussing going on, and I thought, well, somebody got to clean that out because if they don't clean it out, you're going to snipe and kill a lot of guys if you get a sniper in there. So I took the rifle and put shoot 3 windows upstairs. Bang, 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 all the windows. And put another clip in, shoot some more windows, and shoot the door. And I run across and I throw the hand grenade into the window.
Mm-hmm.
And then I shot through the front door and I go in. And I opened up the room that I wanted to go in. And there was all the bed was leaning up against the wall, the mattress and the springs and the blankets. And I heard some whimpering in there. And I went and I pulled it down. And there was a woman with 2 kids, 2 little kids. I walked out of the house and I sat down at the curb and I was crying. And I felt so bad. And all the fights, I don't know what I did with hand grenades. And Sergeant Bennett come over and he kicked me in the butt really hard. And he says, you get your ass moving. He says, a good sniper prophet here. He's a sniper's going to get you. So I got up and left. I remember that too. It was Stony Street and Stony Wall. And I just couldn't take it no more. Well, I kept on going after that. Then we crossed the Saar River. Sterling Window was a bad battle. It was so bad. It was
What battle? What was the name of the battle?
the Sterling Window
Okay.
is a French town by the Saar River there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saar River separates French
Yep.
and Germany.
Yep.
And we had to cross the Saar River. So I crossed the Saar River in a rubber boat.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, the cannons were flying overhead into that place and just flying it over. And all them things going down, you know, we're going down this big hill all spread out. I jumped, when we got in a rowboat and a rubber boat, you know, I don't know how many rubber boats made it, but ours did. Mm-hmm. Got another wall, and Tony Flossie was with me. He was a good guy. And he followed me on, and we come to this wall. Up the wall we go, we crawl around, and there was a road there. I had a road cross with all the barbed wire on this thing. It was a dead-end street, like, see, right beside a German pillbox there. Mm-hmm. And that German pillbox was one that was firing at us. And I had a shape charge. Tony had the fuse. They wouldn't allow you to carry 2 guys, you know. They did. I guess they'd allow, but that was a custom to do that. It was better, you know. So, because if the Germans would get you in a shape charge, they would have the fuse then too. See,
Yeah.
They didn't want that. So we get to this pillbox, and I had a little rope with me. And this shaped charge, you ever these cones you got the highway, cones. But they were shaped like that with a big handle on
Yeah.
it, and you screw the fuse right in top. It was a 10-second fuse. Tony had it in, so I tied the rope on the handle. I says, Tony, well, I'm whispering. I said, be sure you get that fuse in there, and then as soon as you get it in there, pull the pin and you roll away, and I'm going to drop it in that door. So he's okay. So he pulls it away. I drops it, and Tony rolling down there, and I dropped it, and I flung it over there. Two or three waves, and I could drop it into that door. And I rolled over, and that thing went off. Boy, that was something. It was, I don't know how many. Anyway, there was 3 guys in that bunker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left it, and I got to Saarbrücken, and it was dark for this. It was in all the nighttime dark. And I got to the corner of a town, and I looked up the street, and bullets were flying eastward every way, all kind of directions. I said, boy, ain't nobody going up there.
Mm.
All tracers, and in between tracers, there's 4 you can't see.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
So anyway, I got out of that mess and went back sometime, and then Bennett got a hold of me, is what it was. He said, hey, Warren, we need another shape charge. See if we go back and get one. And I said, I'll go back. So I went back to the river bank, and already they had artillery set up there, with some artillery guns to back us up. And and those guys, I let open the door, and those guys come out of that bunker, and they was sitting on the wall. They had blood coming out of their eyes, their ears, their nose, their mouth, and they were all in shock. And I had my rifle, and I go to them, I had such a hatred for those damn Germans. It was unbelievable. I said, do heavens the hour. 999, I said. I stuck my gun in the guy's neck, and the other guy says, yah, 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 and I took his watch.
Mm.
That's what I did.
Wow.
And I took that watch. He had a pocket watch. He gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have shot him, but he thought I would have. See? And the guys in the artillery there, they asked me, Rupert, why the hell you treat him so rough? And you live my life for 6 months and see what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I carried that watch for me. I still got it at home.
Really? Wow.
It's straight down a saw right now. When I go to schools, I show it to the kids, and I tell them about that. And when I got home, I prayed about those boys. They were doing exactly what they were supposed to do, and I was doing what I was supposed to do.
The Germans, yeah.
And I prayed that the good Lord would give him a life. When I was discharged, I was asking the Lord forgiveness.
Mm.
Because they would have a good life like I had when I got home, a peaceful life.
Yeah.
That's what happened there.
Mm.
Then it was raiding these towns. And I seen a lady walking by, pushing this baby buggy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know those people were sneaking ammunition to the snipers.
Mm.
And I stopped her, and she had this beautiful cross hanging around her neck. I looked at that thing, and I grabbed it, and I tore it right off her. Put it in my pocket, searched her baby buggy. There was a little baby in her. I pulled the little baby out, one arm, looked down her, no guns, no ammunition, and I let her go.
Mm.
And she had a medal on there that was awarded to her by Adolf Hitler.
Wow.
And she gets a medal for for helping Hitler raise the master race, for having children. And Adolf Hitler, I still got that down at Sower, and I show that to the kids at school too. And I don't tell them the story, but I got the story on the back, and I give it to the teacher. And I said, if you want to tell them, you tell them. I'm not telling them. See, I still got that, and I didn't know what I had.
Yeah.
I think that thing it's a beautiful German
Mhm.
cross. Is
Yeah.
what it was. You know.
Why did you end up taking like the watch and the necklace and stuff? You just wanted it, and you were just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but she was Nazi. That's why she
yeah,
was.
yeah, mm,
And some of the time you'd raid these houses, I'd go in there, and some people were living there. See,
mm-hmm,
and you get 2 or 3 guys in there. If you're going to raid a house, you get one guy at the back door, one in the front, and and then you bust it in.
mm-hmm,
And anyway, I go in the house, and one of these houses we went in one time wasn't even daylight. We busted in. The woman was frying potatoes. She screamed, the potatoes flew, and the guys were eating the potatoes off the table, as they fall out. And a couple houses, the people didn't, and they said, "You Americans, the radio says you ain't here." I said, "Here we are," and I didn't believe it because that was in Germany. All this was in Germany.
yeah,
Germany was a new war, completely new war.
yeah,
I had a lot of French people help me out.
mm-hmm,
But in Germany, you got no help.
mm,
The Germans were mean.
yeah,
One of the ladies over there, I busted in the house, and the guys would see their picture on the wall of a soldier. They'd shoot it up. See, I never did that. I walked over to this one picture to one house and I took it off the wall and I showed it to this lady. You know this boy? And she'd explain to me, that's my boy. I'd hand her the picture and I'd put her on like that. I'd take care of it,
mm,
hide it,
mm,
put it away.
yeah. Before they get, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
And then the SS troopers is what we were fighting now.
Yeah,
That was all was. And then one village, we would get the village sort of like surrounded, and then we'd send in like a messenger. If you surrender this village, everything will be safe and we'll not ruin no houses. And if you don't surrender, we're going to shell it till it falls apart. Some of them would have to give it up, and the Germans would let them.
yeah,
And the mayor of the town, he'd come riding out on a bicycle and asked us to spare his village, you know. And because those tanks would get over there, they would really raise Cain up at it. And one lady, the town was telling me, I was talking to her, a lot of those people could speak English. I think over there they taught English.
mm-hmm,
They was harassing the soldiers as they was leaving the village, because they decided to give it up.
mm-hmm,
And the women were harassing the soldiers. I don't know what they were saying. So
Why were
know,
they harassing him? Because they wanted him out. They were just like,
yeah, and say, ha, 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 you're getting out of here.
yeah,
Well, this officer walked up to the lady, and told him, you think we're that bad, huh? I don't know exactly what they say. But the officer fought with the women. This woman had like a 10 or 12-year-old boy there, and he pulled out his gun and shot the boy right in front of her, and they'd walk away. Yeah, that's what they did. It was unbelievable. And
that was the SS officers that did that.
huh?
That was the SS officers that did
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And then when we started getting into Germany, then we had slaves. I thought us into a new country. They had everything. They took everything away from all these people, And if you lived in a nice house, a house like this, say, I'd have some maid in here doing the housework, doing the cooking and cleaning up, and then somebody cleaning my yard. Everybody had slaves over there, and no one believed it.
Mm.
We freed a lot of them. Now, they were slaves from France, slaves from, Belgium and
Yeah.
all, and if you was a slave from Russia, when they bring in a Russia, they was in a coal mine,
Mm-hmm.
and they never got out. They lived in there until they'd die. Then they'd haul them out and put another one in to replace them. And all they did was shovel coal.
Mm.
It was unbelievable. When you got to Germany, it was a complete new world.
Mm-hmm.
Then Germany, we got into. That's when they. And then the emergency come when the bulge started.
Mm-hmm.
We got up there, and so we was on a. They put us in a truck then and rushed us past someplace, and put us on the lines up. And I didn't get to Belgium. I got to the border, and I was in the Ardennes there. We were up north someplace. I don't know where the heck we were. Tony and I, we used to hang out the best we could together.
So you guys were still like hanging. You guys were still tight.
Huh?
You guys, you and Tony were still together and like
Oh
as much
yeah,
as possible.
he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we sleeping in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
The Germans busted through, and we had to retreat. And they were all running, and I couldn't run too good. My feet were so doggone cold, I couldn't stand it. You know, they just didn't work. And I got to a tank, and I slid under a tank. Tony says, "I'll come back and get you in the morning." He covered it up with snow, you know, and then he took a stick and he washed away all the footprints, and he left. And that's the only place I could run. So I was under that tank, and it was laying in a bank in a ditch, you know. And I laid there. At least I was out of the wind. Took off my shoes and my socks,
Mm-hmm.
and rubbed my feet and rubbed them all night long. Then I put on a clean pair of socks, you know. I'd put my socks in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take them out of here. By the time they work around there, they'd be pretty dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I did over there. And then next day, Tony come back. It was in noontime, because that time that was the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
Started there today, and the Germans were all headed for Bastogne to help the guys at Bastogne to be captured, you know. And the Americans were trying to get around them, so they would split. That's why I got saved out of that thing, see.
Mm.
So Tony come back and says, "Now they're split up, Warren." He says, "We get out of here." And he says, "I didn't expect to find you alive." I says, "Me and the Lord got a good thing going, Tony."
Seems like it, that's for sure. Oh man.
And it was like that all the way through the war till the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was in that forest,
Mm-hmm.
a guy from the headquarters I knew him too. I'll think of his name, a little pop-up. And his job was running his typewriter to headquarters there, you know. They came to him, and he put his typewriter down, and "You get up in front. You're going up the front." So he come up, and Harold Hicks,
Harold Hicks.
that was his name. I met him after the war, again.
Wow.
Anyway, he come up there, you know. Now, there's Harold Hicks that was in the headquarters all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had no experience. And I blame that on the troops that sent him out. Every time you get a new boy, he was dumber to, you know. Anyway, he was up there, him and two guys, him and himself, another man, was in the same foxhole. And the Germans broke through and took Harold Hicks prisoner and shot the other guy. Shot one and took Harold. And I talked to, and the next time I saw Harold was at an army reunion, you know. And I asked him what happened. He says, "Well, that German howler, Max Snell." I said, "What'd you do?" He says, "I Max Snelled." I says, "Well, what happened?" He says, "You know, Warren," he says, "when I got back there, they was questioning me. And he says, they knew more about my officers in the camp in the 70th Division than I knew." He says, "They knew everything and everybody. They knew how many men was there, and they knew everything. Now, where they get it, I don't know. But that's what he told me."
Wow.
He said, "I couldn't tell them anything they didn't know."
Jeez. That's intense.
It's unbelievable, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. This is what happened there.
Wow. So,
And then in the forest, sleeping in the woods, and they would send up with me a recruit. I always got to recruit somebody. Just moved in, your replacement. You know, when a guy you get shot, they put it. You know, it's easier for them to lose a man than a jeep.
mm-hmm.
You know, you can't replace a jeep right away. The men they were lined up to get in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I had this guy with me. See, was in a, I'd sleep, and he'd guard. You know, the first night I guarded, and I told him how to do it. I says, and don't you whistle or breathe or smoke, you know. So he says to me, I'm laying in the ditch, and he's in there looking around, and he says, I don't see nothing but shadows. He says, what am I supposed to do? I said, well, you look for the shadow that's moving. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's moving. You better wake me up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did.
Wow.
Yeah, they were so dumb. And then in the somebody, I don't know who it was, middle of the night, would start playing taps on a mouth organ. You ought to hear him. He was good too.
Yeah.
And that would float through that cold weather at
Mm.
night. You know, when the shelling stopped, he'd play taps.
Wow.
You know, other guys would sitting there cussing out the Germans, and some guys are praying. You know, and it was really something to see all those guys sleeping in that damn snow and up to their knees, and then I'd get warm. I stayed pretty warm though,
Mm-hmm.
because I took the coats off the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
They had good coats,
Yeah.
good warm coats. I'd lay one on the floor there and sleep on it and cover up with one, then put an army blanket over it.
Did you guys not have like the right gear for the
Huh?
winter? Did you not have the right gear for winter?
No,
Yeah.
we didn't. That's what made me upset, because I always wanted shoe packs
Mm-hmm.
and never had them, but the replacements had them.
Mm.
All the new guys come in
Yeah.
with shoe packs, and we never had them. We had them damn leather boots on.
Yeah, those aren't good in the
No.
wet. That's for sure.
And that's what happened there. Then one guy was playing psalms. He'd write a psalm, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still remember it.
Mm.
And he wrote, I walk through towns that fairly reek with germs and dirt and mud so deep. And off in the distance the cannons roar, as if to say you'll be back no more. My rifle hand is cold and numb, and in my palms red rivers run. But off in the distance the cannons roar, and you will be back no more. That's the way it was.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That's really poetic. That's really beautiful.
But there was good guys there, and some knew how to handle some.
Yeah.
Most of the replacements give you trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Harold Hicks should have never been captured. He was most probably in a hole with another rookie. He never, because I blame it all inexperience. You learn how to smell those damn people.
Mm.
You just knew, you could feel it.
Mm-hmm. How was the ending of the war for you? When you
No,
were...
it wasn't. Then I went from there after the Bulge. I went through the Siegfried Line,
Mm-hmm.
battled through that, and then went through a couple little villages, and my war really ended up in Frankfurt, Germany.
Mm.
I was in Frankfurt, Germany, in a town there, right in town, at the train station. I made it upstairs, and the Germans were downstairs, and I was throwing hand grenades at them. And you asked me if I ever shot anybody. Yeah, it happened, but not. I did try not to.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't try to kill them.
Mm.
I was at it reminded me of a shootout, those old Western shootouts, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
This German and I run into him in the woods, and there was snow there and everything, you know. And I could see him moving, he could see me moving. He took a couple shots at me, and I'd take a couple back, see. Then I'd run, and I'd get someplace, and when I'd run, and as soon as I laid down, I'd roll away, because I know he's going to shoot at that position.
Yep.
And I did that, and I seen him running, and he got behind this big tree. And the only thing I could see was his leg. And I thought, well, I'll put a stop to this. And I shot him right through the foot.
Mm.
God, you should have heard him screaming. And I left him lay there, and I left. And I figured that way he saved a life, and I got 3 more guys off the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
It could take 2 guys to get him out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
I never tried to shoot. And one time I was in a guardhouse, or in a human lady's house, and there was a edger, and I was looking out this window, and it was a U in his house, and I was here on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
had my rifle, and a squad was down the street there in this other house, and Bennett says to me, Warren, that second squad's over there, and keep your eye, and nobody bothers that, see. So I'm laying there, and here comes a kid up. The kid's looking in the window, see. So I throwed a couple shots down her twice. I didn't try to hit him. He runs away. He's a boy. He's older. I don't know what he was. He's a pretty big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon he come back again. So I did the same thing. He took off again. He's waiting for me to disappear. Bennett comes over to me. He's, what are you shooting at? I or some damn kid down there starting the second platoon. I said, he's looking in the window. Bennett says, let me help you. He sat there and waited and waited and waited and waited. That kid came back. He shot him dead right against the wall. Bennett was through Africa, Sicily, Italy, Tunisia. And there he was in our squad. I got what they called Bennett's bastards.
Wow.
And he said, you leave that damn kid go, he'll throw a hand grenade in there and kill the whole squad off. That's what he did. He didn't hesitate a bit.
Yeah.
In that same house I was in, though, I had to guard this window, and I'm sitting there looking out. It's pretty peaceful. And this window here, I can see this German, he's sticking his gun out that window, see?
Mm-hmm.
And I turned my gun, and I was pointing it right at him. I said, come see here. Come see here. 9. I go around. No, you come here, crawl across this roof, and get in this window here, see? He didn't want to do it because he's afraid somebody'd see and shoot him.
Yeah.
And I was afraid he'd throw a hand grenade on me. So I made him get out there and crawl in. He crawled in, and I stuck my gun in his belly and put him in a chair. And I called in a guy I was taking prisoner. So we cleaned him up, got his gun off him, searched him for hand grenades. And this guy took them. In another brigade, I wasn't on this, a patrol. The patrol went out, and the Germans captured them.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that was captured, American guys that was captured, the Germans were standing there talking. What am I going to do with these guys, see? And the American says, hell, I know what he's talking about. He's talking Polish. They're Polish. So he went over there. He says, I'm Polish. He went over and talked to him in Polish, And he told him, he says, why are you fighting this war? He says, you crazy. He says, if you walk down this path down here, lay your rifles down, you walk down with your hands up, you get better food, you get a place to live, you get something to eat, and you'll live long enough to go home and see your mommy.
Wow.
They decided that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So they gave up and they walked down the street. That was toward the end of the war.
Not a bad deal at all. Yeah. What year was that?
45.
45? Yeah. Yeah. What was your last battle that you were in before?
Yeah, it was Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Mm.
That's the last one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there I went to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And in the hospital, why, I got they checked me out, and they says, Warren, we got to put you on guard at the gate. A couple guys, there was two of us down there, and we'd go to the gate, and we're sitting there, and over in the field there was a big transformer. Now the war's over, see,
Mm-hmm.
and the lights are all down in town. You can see the sky lit up, it's dark. I said, see that transformer over there? You watch this. And I took with my rifle and loaded one bullet, an AP, armor piercing. Took one shot, and I hit that transformer, and you ought to have seen the fire flying. Boy, it just sparks every place, with a big iron
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I could see the town going blink, blink. And I said to the guys that was with me, I says, they're used to living in the dark. That's good for them. A guy behind me I never seen, never knew he was there. He says, it was a German boy, all bandaged up. He was wounded, see. And he says, that's as good Houston. That was my last shot.
Wow, it's quite the last shot. And where was that also in Frankfurt or?
Yeah, I think it was in the hospital close to Frankfurt.
Okay.
I don't know where the heck it was. I think it's the next town around. I think was Langdon, close to there. I don't know where that was at.
And you were 21 probably at the time? 20?
Yeah, I had a birthday. Up in the Ardennes there in 45 in February of 45.
Wow. And then you went home, and when did you meet your wife?
Well, when I went home, I had my papers cut to go fight the Japs.
Mm.
And I had to go fight the Japs, and I had a week off there, see.
Uh-huh.
When I had that week off is what I did. I went and shoveled coal for Ralph.
Wow.
And time for me to leave, I pack up my duffel bag, and I throw it in my back, and I was walking up Scott Avenue. I didn't even say goodbye to Mom or Pap or anything. I just left. And my dad come up the road and found me. And I was crying like a baby. Because I was supposed to go fight the Japs, see. And I didn't want to do that because I knew nobody could do that twice. And I went back to camp. And they must have knew something was up because I got back. I think it was Camp Lucky Strike at that time they called it. I think it was in Georgia. I got back to camp and they said, Warren, you can take another couple of days off, go home. I got in the train, went back home, hitchhiked back home. And then when I got home, they dropped the bomb and I didn't have to go to fight the Japs. Never got there. Thank God for that.
Yeah. Wow. Were you pretty relieved? You were.
I was very relieved. I was. Yeah, I was super relieved.
What did you do after that? You just decided like.
Well, it's the first day at home.
Mm-hmm.
Sit at the supper table with the sisters and brothers are all there. Clarence is gone, Calvin's gone now, but the girls are all there. Pap says to me, well, Warren, what do you intend to do? I said, I don't know, Pap, I'm just going to hang out a little bit. He says, you ain't hanging out no damn place. He says, you're going to work tomorrow. He ain't nobody hanging around here. And he was a tough guy. He was a West Virginia hillbilly. And I went back to work right away. And I think he did me a favor. Because those guys who come home, had time off, they went to the beer garden and they met each other and they talked about their poor selves and what they went through and felt sorry for themselves, and we get worse and worse and worse, and drunker. And they got that planted in their mind. I never had that. The old man wouldn't.
Yeah.
In fact, one day, years when I was a little kid, Herman Storr, up there, a Jewish guy, had a light outside of his house and a bench there. And the kids would come over there at nighttime, and country boys, and they'd meet at this light and talk. And I went up on my bike to talk to them. And boy, my dad came up there one day, and he says, you get your ass at home. He says, you ain't loafing with these hoodlums. Now get back there where you belong. And that's the way he was.
Yeah. Did you ever talk to him about what happened overseas when you got back?
No. Mom died. Pap died. Betty died. And Fred died. Ralph died. The guys that I used to farm with.
Mm-hmm.
And they never knew what I did.
Mm.
I never talked about it until, I don't know how many years it was, until Emma Jean was a baby sister. And she slept in a room upstairs by the bathroom. And my mom had her prayer bench in the bathroom and it looked east.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jesus is coming east.
Mm.
That's where he's showing up when he comes out of the east. Anyway, she'd bring it up prayer the 91st Psalm. That's what she prayed all the time. And my Emma Jean said to me, I often wondered why Mom was in there praying for you so hard. She said, I never understood what you did.
Mm. Yeah, but she knew.
I had a lousy life, but I think it was a good life. I really do. I never played football. I never played basketball. No trip, none of that. The only thing I did was work. From the day I was born. That's all I ever did. I did go dancing, though. I did dance a lot.
My wife and
My wife and I would dance. I loved her. She was a good woman.
When did you guys meet after the war? How long after the war did you guys meet?
Well, I was 25 when I met her. And she's 2 years younger. I was living in New Brighton. I had a job as a glass blower. And I was good at that, too. I made all those beautiful neon signs, you know.
That's a super cool job. Yeah.
That was a good job, but it was it would kill you. Anyway, and I roomed there in New Brighton, and it parked there right across the park, and across the park was a armory, like. And that armory every week had a dance. And I'd go over there, see. And they had square dances and round dances and waltzes. And they're playing, and they had a square dance in a collar called Change Partners. Change Squares, you know. And I looked around, and I was all alone, and over there in the room was only a woman left, and that was Mary. I walked over there, and I danced with her. This is, you think, you know, this is a God's truth. When I lived over there, I had a buddy, Dennis was his name. Dennis worked for some electric company, and he lived in a room, and I was in this room, right across the hall. So we become pretty good buddies. In fact, we'd go on a couple dates together. And then I went to that dance over there. I met Mary that night, and I danced with her, and I looked at her, and I says, boy, I like this. That's exactly the truth. And I fell in love with her that quick. Because I had no thought in my mind to ever get a woman.
Really?
That didn't bother me a bit. And Denny and I had plans to make. We're going to go to California. So he says to me, we can't go to California. He says, how the hell are you going to make it? I says, look, I can make money any place in the United States because they're looking for glass blowers all over. I said, I'll get a job, we'll make enough money, we'll make it. He said, how you get started? I says, I'll flip a coin with you. You sell your car or I'll sell mine. And we flipped the coin, he sold his car. See?
Wow.
Then I went to the dance. That night, I came back home after I told Denny, I ain't going to California. Oh, was he mad? He called me words that you never heard. He was madder than a wet hornet. And I'll tell you.
You ever get his car back?
No, he sold it. He most probably got another one.
Yeah. Use the money
But
to
he
get another
moved
one.
out on me, and I never seen him since.
Wow.
That was good.
Yeah. Power of love right there, right? I mean.
And then I met Mary. And honest to God, that was a blessing from the Lord. And I had 75 years of a love affair, as I had. And her and I built this house. Every damn nail and brick we put in here.
That's amazing. And you did mechanic work for when like you were a contractor? I'm sorry, you built houses and stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
built houses right down that garage.
Wow.
I built a gas station down there, and a township building inspector come and tried to stop me.
Why was that?
You ain't allowed to build here, he said. I said, I ain't building here. I'm going to ship this one out. And I put it in my truck, and I hauled it up the Erie. You know, I had my men working there
Mm-hmm.
to build this gas station because they had the footer and everything poured and get the slab in. And it was a little drive-through gas station.
Mm-hmm.
A Bear Oil Company it was.
Okay.
And that's what and I put it all together right down there. And I took it up, and those guys just bolted it right back together.
Wow.
Put it on a dump truck and hauled it up there.
That's incredible.
My wife even went with me on that trip.
Well, how long did it take you to build this house?
Well, I don't know. I started in '49, ended up in '50. You know, it was because we wasn't married.
Okay.
I had to frame this room. I added on later,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 rooms in the back I added on later.
Mm-hmm.
But the little house, and then when I'd go to work, Mary and I moved into this house. I had the well drilled and an electric pole out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd run an extension cord in the basement for a light to turn on if you want. And had one upstairs here we'd walk around with. And I put the commode in the basement
Mm-hmm.
and set it on over top the sewer, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the way we lived here.
Mm.
And we had one bedroom back here we slept in, and the floor was nothing here. It was studs in the wall, that's all. I got the electric in, had the plumbing in, had all the insulation put in. I had that when I'd come home and work. And we had the roof on it when I got married, but I didn't have a shingle. I just had the tar paper on it. And then we took a honeymoon,
Mm-hmm.
and we come back from the honeymoon, we moved in here.
Where'd you go on your honeymoon?
Everybody goes up to Canada, Niagara Falls. That was a thing those days, I
Really?
guess.
I've been there. It's Niagara Falls is beautiful.
And old 44 that went up Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she drove every lath on those walls in that first house, all the lath in the walls, you know. And I did the ceilings when I got home. Then I trimmed all of this. I built all these. I built these beams right down there in my shop.
These are beautiful.
And when I put these beams up, Thanksgiving Day, she was in there cooking turkeys, and I shoved it up over there, and I'd help her, and I'd ask her for help, and I made props to help prop them up, you know.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And then her and I did all the wallpaper, too.
Mm-hmm. Did everything.
Yeah. Because I had the guys up there, he said, that's a beautiful wallpaper. He says, who'd you get to do your wallpaper? Mary says, I got him, and he got me. That's who did it.
Did you? How quickly did you guys get married? Since like when you started dating, or was it pretty quick?
I think maybe a year later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you meet her family and everything?
Oh
or-
yeah.
Mm.
Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
I fell in love with them too.
Mm-hmm.
They were such good old people. God, were they good.
Mm.
Worked hard working people.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew Mary was a hard worker too.
Mm.
I can remember her when they had a hay would come in. She'd lead the horse out of the barn, and they had to dump it in the barn floor, and they had to take it up to the loft, you know. And he had a big fork, and they'd pull it up with a rope. When Mary pulled the horses out, then the guy had a pull. You throw the hay over there, and the guy up there was putting it where it belonged. Then she'd lead the horses back, and they'd load it up, and that's what she did.
Wow.
She worked on a farm too.
Yeah. So they moved back. Where did she live? Like they moved to Ukraine or from Ukraine, then had her.
Oh,
Did she
they
have
lived
any
down
siblings?
in Coppell, Pennsylvania.
Coppell, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and in fact, he worked in a mill in Coppell.
Mm-hmm.
Mary could tell you the story better than I can. And the war broke out when he was there, see.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was overseas, when he lived over in Ukraine, the Russians come in, and they were taking the guys to put in the army. He did not want to go in the army, Russian army. And So he got his brother's birth certificate, which is older than him, which got him over here.
Wow.
See, he used his brother's.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he got over here.
Yeah.
And he just, and then they had to go back for a reason, and then they came back again, and they came back home. Because he said he didn't want to be in no Russian army.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
And he would tell me about all the priests over there, how they were dictators. Oh, my God, what the things he would tell me. I'd go out and husk corn with him, And he'd tell me about that country. He hated it over there.
Yeah.
How mean they were.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't think I have any other. How long have we been going for, Bethany? Couple hours. Anything I missed? Probably a whole lot of stuff.
I think so, yeah.
Oh man. Well, Warren, it was a pleasure to have you. I mean, like, thank you so much for inviting us into your home. It's amazing to hear your stories and amazing to.
I can't believe what the Lord did in my life.
I can't.
It's just I think I lay in bed and think about what He'd done for me. It's impossible for me to do it.
Mm.
I had no education. I had a sister, Betty.
Mm-hmm.
She's the oldest sister. And when I was growing up, she'd call me stupid. She says, "Oh, you're so stupid, you don't know nothing." And, she was most probably right.
Mm.
I didn't know nothing. I didn't know how to write or read. I just got my words twisted around.
Mm-hmm.
And my dear wife, Mary, didn't know that when we got married.
Mm.
She found out later.
Yeah.
And she told me one time, she said, if I knew that you didn't have an education and it was like that, she said, I don't think I would have married you. She said, but you're doing all right. I'll tell you, she done better living than those other people that she lived with, than her brothers, and they were all, no, they never succeeded.
Mm.
In fact, they wondered where Mary was getting all her stuff from. I treated Mary, I loved her so much.
Mm.
I still do.
Yeah. Yeah. She sounds like an amazing woman.
Oh, she was beautiful, too. I still talk to her.
As you should, right?
I guess so. She was a blessing from the Lord. And she was a Bible thumper, too.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was her family?
They went to Ukrainian church.
Okay.
And Ukrainian was Elwood City, and they didn't have no way to get there. So Mary would go to Presbyterian church.
Mm.
And then she'd come home, and her mother would ask her, well, what did you learn over there? And Mary would tell her. And her mother thought, that was all right. That's good, I got an appointment to get down to Heinz Industry, and I'll be there next week. I got a poem I was going to read him. And this poem is a nice poem. I met them at another place. And he said, don't forget you're coming. I said, yeah, I'll be there. And I said, I got a poem I'm going to read. And I said, I want the whole group together so they can hear it. He said, okay, we'll arrange that, Warren. I get a phone call. And they say, what's that poem about? He says, it can't be too religious. He says, it can't be political. He says, we're not going to have any of that. I said, I'll tell you what, I won't bring it. I won't say it. I'm going down there next week, and I'm going to tell them why I'm never coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we're going to tell them, if you people want to lead a damn communist life, you live it. I'm not going to live it. I said, I got a right to. And this poem is so. When I first got this poem, it made me cry.
Mm.
It was about a soldier falling asleep, and Santa's coming down a chimney, and he sees this soldier laying there. It is so true what these guys went through, And he says, well, you can't have nothing religious in it. It only mentions God one time, that's all.
Yeah. People don't want to
It's
believe
for
in
the
anything
kids.
anymore. So.
Now, when I got a meeting coming up next week, Go to church. I'm going to take that poem over there. I'm going to read it to that bunch over there. Now,
I'm sure they'll
listen.
let you read it there.
Yeah. I
Well,
did it before
yeah.
down at the country club in Swickley, or not Swickley, down in the near New Brighton, and
Mm-hmm.
they had a country club down there. And I read it to that. My God, it was a big group, and they really liked it.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's
Yeah.
good for the kids.
Yeah. I'd love to read it, but
Hell, I'll get it if you want to read it.
yeah. I mean, you want to read it on the air, or
I'll get downstairs. I'll get it
no, right now?
right now.
All right. All right. You want me to go get it for you?
You don't know where it's at. Do you want to read it?
I would love if you could read it, if you're okay. with
Okay, I'll try it.
that. Okay.
Okay. Now, this is a poem. It was written by a soldier. It was a lance corporal,
Mm-hmm.
and his name was Smith. James Smith.
Mm.
And here's what he writes. It was the night before Christmas. He lived all alone in a one-bedroom house made of plaster and stone. I had come down the chimney with presents to give and to see just who in this house did live. I looked all about, a strange sight I did see. No tinsel, no presents, not even a tree. No stockings by mantle, just boots filled with sand. And on the wall, picture of a far distant land. With medals and badges, awards of all kind, a soaring thought came to my mind. For this house is different, so dark and so dreary, a home of a soldier, now I could see clearly. The soldier lies sleeping, silent, alone, curled up on the floor of this one-bedroom home. The face was so gentle, the room in such disorder, not how I pictured a United States soldier. Was this the hero of whom I've just read, curled up in a poncho and the floor for a bed? I realized this family that I saw this night owed their lives to this soldier who was so willing to fight. Soon round the world the children will play, and grown-ups will celebrate a bright Christmas day. They all enjoy freedom each month of the year because of this soldier like the one laying here. I couldn't help but wonder how many lie alone on a cold Christmas Eve in a land far from home. The very thought brought a tear to my eye. I dropped to my knees and I started to cry. The soldier awakened. I heard a rough voice. Santa, don't cry. This life is my choice. I fight for freedom. I don't ask for more. My life, my God, my country, my core. The soldier rode over and soon drifted off to sleep. I couldn't control it. I continued to weep. I kept watch for hours, so silent and still, and we both shivered on this cold evening chill. I didn't want to leave on that cold, dark night, the guardian of a hero who was so willing to fight. Then the soldier rolled over with a voice soft and pure. He whispered, "Carry on, Santa. It's Christmas Day. All is secure." One look at my watch, and I knew he was right. Merry Christmas, my friend, and to all a good night.
Mm.
That's it.
Well, Warren, I just want to say thank you again Thank you for sharing. Thank you for everything. Insightful stories, beautiful stories, and just for your service. Honestly, like it means a lot. It means a lot to hear from you, and it means a lot that you're willing to speak about it. So, thank you very much. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.